Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and last night I saw Slotherhouse, which is, it is a, what do you call them, B-rated creature feature slasher movie about a killer sloth. Maybe you've seen the trailers or the poster, but yeah, that's what it is, in the vein of sort of this modern era of intentionally, B-rated movies. Like your Sharknadoes and your Velocipastors, which that's the one where the pastor is a velociraptor. Now we have Slotherhouse, which right away I gotta say I feel like these B-rated movies, obviously they're doing it intentionally, even though, back in the day, it was not intentional to be super corny and cheesy. It's just, sometimes bad movies get made, but now people are kind of just doing it on purpose, which can be fun in its own, right? Like, I feel like it does take maybe a certain type of sense of humor to really get it. The only thing is that, like in this case, whenever I've seen some of these movies, they always have like a couple of really standout scenes, but ultimately I'm always like, I wish they went further with the joke, like with Velocipastor, so Slotherhouse, like there are a couple of like really great kills and really great jokes about, it's a sloth that's killing everybody, but ultimately, like, a lot of the kills are just simple, like he uses his sloth claws and stabs people, and that's how they die. And it's not even like particularly gruesome deaths, like they'll find a body and it's just a person with a little bit of blood on their face or something, and that's it, just to signify that they were killed. So I was like, dang, I wish they, like it feels like there's so many other jokes about a sloth being slow or a sloth being able to climb on the ceiling. Like, it feels like you could have been more creative in the way that you killed these people from the sloth. Having said all of that, this is all about really this sorority house, and this girl really wants to become the president of the sorority. So there's like this election coming up, and so she's like, well, if I get this exotic pet and I kind of make that my, the house mascot, and kind of use that in my social media, then I'll be able to win the election, right? Like, that's really like the plot of the movie. And then the sloth, I don't know if it's just because because even when it was at its home, because we're introduced to the sloth in Panama, I think, or no, Peru, one of those countries. Anyways, the sloth is there in the wild. It gets attacked by an alligator, and you think, oh my god, that sloth got killed. And then we see the sloth get out of the water, so you're like, okay, the sloth survived that somehow. And then the sloth gets taken by poachers, and that's how eventually this girl ends up buying it off of this exotic animal dealer. And then we see that the alligator turns over dead, and it has a giant 3-claw mark on its stomach. And honestly, that was like one of the best jokes in the whole movie. Just like that opening introduction of the sloth, like, oh, he killed the alligator, it went the other way around, anyways, so the whole sorority, especially in the third act, when they, everyone starts dying, and the enemy of the movie, the antagonist, the old sorority president who's trying to stop this new girl from becoming president, like, all of that actually starts getting better as the movie goes on. It starts off like just very goofy, but as it gets on, they actually start getting funnier and funnier, and so I think the third act is really kind of what saves this movie from just actually being a bad movie, not just like being a goofy movie, you know what I mean? Like, it's trying to be corny, but it's still trying to be entertaining, and I think the third act is really what helps it along, because that's when they kind of embrace the goofiness of it all that I wish it was there the whole time. You know, like one of the girls tries to attack the sloth with a sword, and the sloth starts like dodging it and ducking and all kinds of, like, I wish that kind of stuff was more in the movie instead of only being there kind of at the very end. You know, at one point the sloth drives a car and stuff like that. You know, like I wish the movie kind of started and the sloth was more anthropomorphic the whole time instead of just at the end. Anyways, but yeah, overall, I don't know. I found the human characters, they were funny at the end. Of course, you have a lot of what would you call it? Stereotypes of just like, oh, okay, so this is the girl who's in charge and she's got her own little minions, and then this is the girl who's willing to do anything to be, you know, the popular one, so she's got to get this animal. And then you got the best friend who's like not outright an animal rights activist, but, you know, is very much like, you know, this is not normal to get this sloth, and you kind of just got it from some poacher guy, and this is wrong, and you should try to send it back home and all that stuff. So of course she ends up you know, being one of the people the sloth goes after, because I don't know if the sloth wants to get home or if it just wants to kill people, because it was kind of, my point is that when it was in the wild, it was still like a killer sloth. You know, it wasn't like a normal sloth and then became a killer sloth. It was already like, oh, this thing's taking out alligators and crocodiles and stuff, right? So I don't know what this sloth's deal was. Like, it doesn't really have like a reason to be so aggressive. They introduced like some pills at the very beginning, and they don't really say what they're supposed to do. They're just like, oh, you got to give the sloth these pills for some reason, and then they kind of just drop that. You know what I mean? Like the pills are used to kill one of the people. The sloth puts the pills in one of the drinks of one of the girls, but they don't really go into like, well, wait. Are the pills the reason that the sloth is killing people? Because it was killing people or killing alligators when it was in the wild. So what's up with that? You know, like I don't understand when these pills became a factor. Did the poachers start giving it these pills? But then clearly that guy didn't bother, because the poacher guy, because he ends up getting killed before he can even sell it to the girl. I don't know. It doesn't really go anywhere with the pills thing. I don't really get that. But yeah, in any case, it just, I don't know. It was entertaining in parts. There's like some montage sequences where they're like, you know, there's a whole week before the election starts, and so they show like on social media like all these events that they're doing to try to raise money and try to do this, and they're celebrating their new mascot as this sloth thing, and you know, he becomes like his own emoji, and he has his own hashtag on what I'm assuming is supposed to be Instagram, and you know, during that montage, and this is kind of another one of my complaints, a lot of people are killed by the sloth in this montage. Again, not in even the most entertaining of ways, right? It's really just like the sloth jumps and then stabs with his claws again. You know, like, dang, do something different. Anyways, a lot of those people get killed during this montage, and they're never addressed. You know, all we see is like little text messages pop up on screen saying like, have you seen this person? Where's this person at? And then like their bodies are never found. They're never talked about during the third act. Like, man, we lost like 5 people in the last week. Like, nothing is ever said about it, and that's kind of weird. So I almost want to say that this is like an add-on, you know, like they filmed this later. They're like, we need more kills during this montage sequence that we're gonna do, so let's just quickly film the sloth killing a couple random girls, and then, you know, like, and then we just, you know, we've already filmed the third act, so we can't mention that they died, so we're just gonna move on, you know. So, you know, some weird stuff like that kind of happens, and yeah, just, I don't know. I will say this. You know, they do that thing where text messages pop up on the screen when you see your characters talking on their phone or texting, and you see like the big bubble show up, and that way the audience can read what they're typing. But they do this interesting thing I've never really seen anyone else do, where new characters will show up, or even just background characters, and as you're going past them, they'll have like a little bio status thing, like it'll show like their picture, it'll show like the things that they're into, and it'll show like how many followers on Instagram they have, and it'll quickly just have like a one sentence like, this person wants to do this person is the best friend of this person, they do that really quickly, even for like some background people that you're never gonna remember. But I thought that was a pretty cool like additional little stylistic thing that this movie does, so like this movie does have whatever post-production editing budget they had, they spent it on like putting up all these graphics on screen and kind of introducing these characters in that way, without the movie having to like explain everything. They just like have these bubbles pop up, and I thought that was pretty cool, so this movie is very much it's as much about the sloth as it is about social media, or at least it tries to be. But yeah, just overall it was fine. I wish they got a little bit more creative and told a couple more jokes about the sloth, like it kills people, and I guess that in itself is enough of a joke. Like, it's a sloth that's killing people, that's the joke. But man, it feels like you could have been more creative with it, right? You could have had funnier things. Like, I almost wish you almost had like that Austin Powers moment, where Austin Powers is on that, I don't even know, that roller, that vehicle that's going very, very slowly, and the guy's at the very end of the hall and he's just screaming no, and then like for a full like 2 minutes before Austin Powers even gets to the guy, he's just like panicking and holding out his hand going no, like you could have done a similar thing with the sloth, because sloths are slow, like that. So it would have been like a funny, you could have had jokes like that, and they didn't really do that. There's like one where people are like crawling on the ground and they get like yanked back through a doorway, and I'm like, okay, see, like stuff like that, things that logically a sloth would not be able to physically do, you can kind of have happen just off screen. That would be funny, but they didn't even do that much, so I'm like, dang it, they I don't know. If they do a sequel, which they could, right? Like, I imagine this was a very, very cheap movie to produce. I just hope next time they kind of, mix it up a little bit. Don't just go for the stabbing claws. Like, I get it. Sloths have the 3 stabby claws, but, come up with funnier ways for the sloth to kill people. I think that's all I'm really asking, like make it so he's hanging from something and he's hanging people up there. I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about Slotherhouse. Am I thinking too much about this movie? It's just a silly, goofy movie. But yeah, I don't know. I kind of wish it was a little bit goofier, a little bit weirder. But anyways, that's just me. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.